if you can't get after the quarterback, we're going to continue to see what happened in the Super Bowl against the Eagles happen year after year, time after time, game after game, where he was able to sit back in the pocket unharmed and to throw the football down the field. The Chiefs needed to get some interior help with the loss of Tershawn Wharton to the Carolina Panthers because he's been doing it all himself quickly. So that is going to bring in Omarr Norman-Lott, one of the more explosive yet unrefined players in this 2025 draft class, to bring in as a spark, somebody that can impact the passer from multiple different angles. Why was he brought into Kansas City? What does the usage at Tennessee tell us about the player itself, or is this more just SEC defensive craziness? We are going to get into all of that here on RGR Football. My name is Daniel Harms, senior film analyst, and like I said, we are going to dive into the film of Omarr Norman-Lott. Now, we have to remember, if you go through the snaps that he played at Tennessee, specifically this past year, you're not going to see a ton. He was not a starter. He didn't earn a lot of reps, but also the way that they use their defense is very unique. He's not on the field a ton in run situations, but we have enough to glean some upside. There's a reason the Chiefs drafted him in the second round over Ashton Gelati, who went to the Chiefs a few picks later. They prioritized his skill set. So let's go ahead, dive in and talk about that particular skill set to be able to break down and identify one of the things and really where the Chiefs want to utilize this type of player. He lined up all over the defensive line for Tennessee, from a zero tech all the way out to a 4-eye, just over the inside shoulder of the tackle. So you're going to see here lined up more of a 2-eye position against inside zone. Offense is all blocking down. So he's going to identify that very quickly. Again, you've got 2-eye here from both. Actually, let's go ahead and switch up the colors here. I want to get yellow for Norman-Lott. So we'll come down here with all these blocks, right? So you want to have both of these guys here in space. You've got a lot of space here. So lateral agility, being able to get inside a block, is one of the more important parts of Omarr Norman-Lott's game and what he's able to bring. Again, you see that explosiveness laterally, and then really the quick usage of that left hand inside. When we come back here, I'm on this end zone, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about, where he's going to take it and kind of really swipe out or take it away very, very quickly. So there's that lateral explosion. Boom. He's a wild kind of athlete where he can make, you see guys that are rushing the passer or getting after the quarterback in different ways where their arms are kind of moving all over the place. I will say there are times where he is more of a wild mover, but here again, this is power and unique athletic traits for a guy, even as a fifth-year senior coming out of Tennessee. You see the natural gifts, the knee bend here, how he's going to be able to explode laterally, but again, use this left arm. He's going to just kind of take it away from the block, and that's where you see right there, that hand is now underneath, and he's going to bring it right back around, and inside that gap, just kind of take it away, rip underneath, and then close on the running back. And again, he was not utilized a ton against the run. He was just kind of on the field at times where he's against it. So they wanted him on the field far more against the pass because of his explosive ability. But I think at 6'2", 290 pounds with nearly 34-inch arms, this is a type of player the Chiefs want to have in multiple different situations because the body type does allow for him to be able to be better against the run and be useful against the run. Is he going to be a Mike Pennell? No, you don't necessarily want him at 0 or 1 taking on double teams all the time, but I think he can play there. I think he can play one tech just actually more than adequately, given his dense build and where he's going to be working with Chris Jones, identifying how he can play better against those. He didn't see a ton of double teams, and you see right there, the pad level for him against the double does come up a little bit more. That's not really a part of his game that I was afraid about or worried about, was the pad level. I think that he just didn't anticipate this happening right here. The helmet coming down from that Oklahoma blocker, you see he just kind of gets hit right there, and that's where he gets kind of rear-ended from this guy right there. The tackle's blocking down, and then that's where that displacement comes from. But then he's going to re-establish himself, hop, and get back into the block. So there are tools here. He's not going to be the most refined guy against the run coming out of Tennessee. But again, there are tools to kind of utilize, and that's what we have to look at more with a microscope for why the Chiefs drafted him, because at the end of the day, with the build, the length, he's going to be used far more to keep guys off of him, take on some blocks from time to time. And here you want to see hand usage, more of a kickstand technique from him. The kickstand, again, is where you see the knee bend go down. You see how he gets turned to the side a little bit, and that makes his base more narrow. You want, as a guy who's taking on a double team, to have a little bit of a wider base, shoulder, a little bit more shoulder length apart, and then that knee bend, right? Bring one of the knees down to the ground right here while you have this base a little bit wider. Keep yourself as square as you can while taking on those two blockers, and then use that sand in your pants. I don't think he necessarily needs to add more in that regard in terms of anchor, because there's a lot of power there, but you do see, I think the tools and the techniques need to be refined a bit more to be able to take on double teams at the next level. But I know that he played more of a 3-tech 2-eye for Tennessee, maybe where he's more comfortable even at 4-eye, but I think that there's a lot of upside for him to move inside all over the defensive formation for Kansas City, because he does offer a wide range of skill sets. He's really, really powerful. Like, this is a guy who can bring a ton of real unique gifts to the position as well. Next to Chris Jones, the Chiefs don't have a lot of just raw natural movers with that type of athletic ability and first step quickness that has speed to power at the ready. You see, he's going to just take his hands and just shove them into the blocker, the guard right there, and move him backwards. And this is where I like to see take control of that point, right? So eyes in the backfield, identifying where the football is while moving with the block. And he's going to be able to use that power to be able to just kind of keep that blocker at bay. Arm length, very good. Again, we talked about it, nearly 34-inch arms, but I like the way that he moves laterally with blocks. He's able to use power at the point of attack. And then, like I said earlier, I don't think he needs more sand in the pants. He needs to use the gifts that he has and understand the ways that you can bend at the knees, the ways that you can bend at the hips, or use that natural leverage at 6'2" to be able to get up underneath guards and centers, and then have all of that, I think, at his disposal will be far more useful for him against the run. So it's projection against the run. I do think, again, he can play down to 1, 2-eye is where you're probably going to see him in this specific defense. But we're going to get to where I think he's going to be far more valuable for the Chiefs after we talk about our sponsor, Underdog. Again, one of our newer ones. We're doing this now for a couple of months. You guys have been a part of it. You can use the code RGR at sign up. You're going to get up to $1,000 on your first deposit bonus to match and play in these pick'em slips right here. So today, this is another one of the things that I really like about Underdog, is that there's always different things in the lobby. Today, I've got a 60% profit bonus or a gimme pick, and that is just one basic free pick for you. And that's what we're going to talk about today for you guys. We're going to talk about 2 players here for the NBA playoffs, And I like to get, we talked about it last week. I missed out a little bit on one of my picks, but I did hit the other one. We are going to actually refresh this page really quickly, because I think that they updated Derek White's number, which makes me really, really upset. I wanted to see where he was at. All right, no, he didn't. Awesome. This is a pretty easy hire for me. For the Underdogs pick'em slips, it's very easy. You pick higher or you pick lower, and it's boom, you're in. It's good to go. Easy. Right there. So Derek White, if we go into what he's done for this postseason, all but one game against Orlando, he has been higher than 15.5 points, 17, 16, 18, 19 points. So for me, it's a very easy one to pick. And that one does start at 6 p.m. Central Time. So we're going to make sure I get this video live for you guys a little bit earlier so we can get into that and talk about how hopefully Derek White goes higher than that number. And then I really do think we're going to be seeing a really big game from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for the Oklahoma City Thunder, one of the best players in the NBA, the MVP in my mind. And I know that he had 33 points, 31 2 games ago, 38. They did lose in the first game to the Nuggets. So I'm actually going to go higher on 33.5 points, which is a tough one to get into. But overall, this is what we're looking at for me. I go 2 picks now for each one of these. You guys can join on me. You can tail, or you can create your own pick'em slip. These are a lot of fun to do. Again, every day, every week, however you guys feel about it. So please use the code RGR at sign up to become a part of not just underdog, but helping people that help us every week. And you get up to $1,000 on your first deposit bonus. So let's go ahead and jump back. And we really thank Underdog for being a sponsor here on RGR Football, and talk more about Omarr Norman-Lott and why the Chiefs ideally drafted him to play alongside Chris Jones and in this defense, because that's where this comes down to. Is I talked about it on the opening monologue video. They need to be able to impact the passer. They really couldn't do it. And I know that the defensive ends that the Chiefs have and the one that they brought in and Ashton Gelati are going to be late winners. They're not going to be quick winners all the time. And you have to be able to flow the quarterback to those guys. And one way you can do it is adding Chris Jones and Omarr Norman-Lott on the inside with quickness and agility and all different types of ways to come at the quarterback quick and to him, right? Now, this is more of an arc one. You see, he gets beat initially, right? He does beat the guard quickly. He tries to go across, the center, tries to go right into this gap. So you see that burst off the line. He's trying to come down here. He goes a little bit of a left-hand cross, and then he tries to swim over. Doesn't cleanly swim over, right? The center does a nice job of condensing down the space, but he keeps working. He swims back over as the center is trying to push him away. And this is another thing I really like about what he offers as a pass rusher. You see the violence trying to get into the A gap here. So as he swims over, he just kind of comes across here into that B gap, swims right through, and then boom, he's right around, and they don't have any idea what happened. And Jalen Milroe has to try to get out of the pocket quickly, and the play breaks down there. So he has a couple of moves at his disposal, but for the most part, you see him utilize speed to power, try to get inside gaps, and then he has a rip, a swim, and the cross chop is where his pass rush repertoire is, which is perfectly fine. We've seen that be impactful quickly in gaps from time to time, specifically with Chris Jones, who uses them almost exclusively. But again, he does a nice job there of trying to battle through the hands, but the quick chop down match with the swim is that he knows the hands are coming down from the center, so he wants to get those away from him quickly so that he can then get around the blocks. And so for a guy who does predominantly win based off of speed and quickness, he does have a lot of speed to power. Those are really the two things for me, is you see the explosiveness, lateral and linear, but then matched with how quickly he can transfer that to speed to power is a very unique thing for a guy. So I think that really why the Chiefs drafted him in that regard is because he's going to bring that right now. And that's another area where the Chiefs, if you want to put Chris Jones on the outside, we're talking about Norman-Lott can come into a 3-tech and rush from a 3-tech position and give them a little bit of that. Ideally, you like to see him bring a lot more than a little bit of Chris Jones, but closer to 75% of Chris Jones as he develops as a player. And this is, I'm not saying that they're likened, but they have a lot of similar traits, or Norman-Lott and Chris Jones, in terms of how they win, how they won coming out of college. And while Chris Jones, again, was a second-round pick, so is Norman-Lott. And what he offers is a lot of the same type of quickness, agility, and fast hand speed to power. But one thing that I really want to see more from him is when you are rushing, again, this is against a tackle, so he's looping around. Tennessee did a lot of loops, games, stunts, things like that. When you're looping around and you're trying to get through a tackle, we have to see the hands work far more, and not just right here. You see that little bit of a Euro step, tries to cross through, and then his hands just kind of stop working. You see the power that he has naturally. Use the length a bit more too. He's too close to that tackle. Even though he's pushing the tackle back, you can see he's doing a nice job of that. We need to extend and then get off, whether it's extend and chop, whether it's extend and rip, whether it's extend and then swim, right? We want to see how the hands continue to work. And that's one of the things that I found myself wanting more from him. And I'm going to say it's hard to get into a pass rush rhythm when you're only playing 20 snaps a game. And a lot of those are one-offs. You see him come in on an obvious third down situation where it's a pass. So he's got to kind of come at you with the first step explosiveness and then the speed to power. And that's how he wants to win. So there's going to be times where he's going to stall out. And that's naturally going to happen with him, specifically at Tennessee. So a guy who doesn't play a lot, who comes in obvious situations where he's going to try to win and showcase his best traits right away, doesn't make for the best film watch because you got to skip through a lot of stuff to be able to get to him. But I will say, it was easy to see why the Chiefs wanted him in Kansas City. Okay. Does that mean it's going to work out? No, but it does give you a much cleaner idea of what they want to bring, along with the way that the Chiefs defensive line is constructed. So you see he kind of jumps out of his stance here. And again, we talk about the loops in the games. He really does a nice job of selling this one. When you're going to be employing more games and stunts and twists, which I think the Chiefs are wanting to do more of, you naturally want to get guys that can sell right up here. So again, that first step quickness is there. And then this is where the cornering comes in for me, a guy who can, again, maybe rush off the edge at times from a 4-eye position, give you versatility with Chris Jones on the inside or the outside. You can bring him and do a lot of the same things. So again, he attacks the guard, makes him think that he's going to come right here, right? They're going to bring Pierce Jr. down, and then he's going to loop, and then Norman-Lott's going to loop around. Getting around the arc is hard for a lot of guys. So, but you see how he condenses this? That ankle flexion. He's just that inside foot as he's coming around the bend. He gets it down the line, and he's able to turn instead of it being this really, really wide angle. So again, right here, from here, you see a lot of guys end up in this regard, right? Right here. Instead, Norman-Lott is far more of a clean angle and a clean corner. Watch his right foot right there. See how he's bending this already? That ankle flex, that foot flexed, and then the knee bend with it to be able to change direction at that speed while he's arcing around and cornering are very useful athletic gifts that he just naturally possesses. And I don't think he has great burst to close on the quarterback, but you do see it's there. You see he's able to get around the arc and down the line pretty quickly for a guy. Again, it's nearly 300 pounds, and I think he probably played at 300 pounds and came in a little bit lighter for the combine. So using him in a lot of different ways is going to be how you maximize him as a third down player, as an obvious pass rush situation player, but also how you're going to maximize his effectiveness in the defense. You don't want him to only be that guy initially, because there are some actual mental tools that he possesses as well. I think he locates the football extremely well. And this is one of the things that I noticed. You see, you had the offense is going to bring out a little jet action and play action. So the ball could be any which way in this scenario. Ideally, you want to find guys that can identify where the football is, where it's not. So he's attacking down. First things first, get your hand off me. Swipes that away. Then he's going to look into the backfield. All right, I see the football still. Eyes on the mesh point, okay? Knows that the football is not over here, so his eyes aren't that way. Identifies where that mesh point is. See right there, he follows, and then he stops. Right here is that moment where he realizes the ball's not there, and he's going to swim around right here onto the right-hand side of the guard. Boom. He does it very quickly, finds the football, and you see 76 is kind of falling over himself because of the stunts that were happening already. So identifying where that football is, you can see how slow motion it goes, then how quickly he operates that. Hand quickness, time with his hands, his eyes, and then the head move around, make this so he gets cleanly to the quarterback, and then the football has to come out. Tennessee triggers on it downhill, and it's over from there. So I think he's a smart football player, but for whatever reason, Tennessee didn't use him a lot in a lot of different situations. I thought they should have used him a lot more for a guy his talent level and physical tools, and really just being able to take over at different times. And this is one of the things where when he decides he's going to go through you, he's just going to go through you because of that power, that initial quickness. First step, he can transition to speed of power. You see how he just kind of gallop step that, and then initially it's boom, it's over. He's able to just kind of get guys back on their haunches, on the heels, and he does it really quick. So you're going to see right here again, that gallop step. So left foot and right foot kind of gallop right there. 1-2. From that point on, it's pure power. He's able to generate that gallop step into speed and then power, where he's going to take hands, come underneath, and then just unload. Boom, there's one. Get your hands off me, and then just continues to push back, and then create that angle, right? He's kind of lowering his left shoulder down around so he can manipulate his body around the blocker and focus on getting after the quarterback. So this guy is a real athlete. He has a lot of different ankle flexion, hip flexibility, tools that he can use to alter the angles with which he's rushing the passer and get after the quarterback. So I really appreciate that. And then you get to see the pure, unadulterated first step quickness when he times that snap. Boom, he's off the ball right there. This is, again, a game. So he's coming off the ball into that gap to allow a looper or a stunt to come through. But he does a nice job, again, of staying with us. So he gets here, they come around, force the quarterback up, and uses those eyes well to find the football. So right there, again, I'm going to turn you. We're going to loop around. Okay, boom. We have a defensive end on a center. That's a win. And then Norman-Lott comes through, just kind of identifying it. Boom. And he gets to the quarterback too. So there's speed, there's quickness, there's athleticism, there's speed to power. There's a lot of refining that's going to need to happen for a guy like this at his size that doesn't have a lot of playing experience really coming into Kansas City from last year. He doesn't have a ton of snaps played. So the physical raw attributes, the reason the Chiefs drafted him is because when you put Chris Jones on the outside, you have to kick somebody inside. Or you bring somebody like Omarr Norman-Lott down to mimic some of what you get from Chris Jones right now. Then there's upside for him to be able to be more than what he is with that quickness, the athleticism, and then the agility to rush the passer from all these different angles, spots, alignments, games, twists, stunts, versatility. We talked about it with Ashton Gelati last week. He's a guy that can rush outside, can play inside. He is not the best double team take on guy, but he's a fundamentally sound football player that's really, really smart. A lot of teams wanted. The Chiefs drafted Norman-Lott to give them the speed, the burst, the power, a little bit more of what Gelati doesn't have, raw anyway, but he's smart. So this is a very good combination and usage of, we have these two players that we really like, and they complement each other. They play versatile. They can do a lot of what we ask them to do. And then you need somebody to give you something on the inside when Chris Jones is playing defensive end, which he will play in those obvious passing situations. This is the perfect scenario to bring him in down to a 1 or a 3 and let him just tee off on guards and centers and get into gaps. So it was a little bit of a reach. I think both of these two defensive players in Gelati and Norman-Lott may have been a little bit more of a reach. But overall, you can see the vision of what the Chiefs want to do and how they need to continue to impact the quarterback. And Norman-Lott's going to bring that day one. Development as a run stopper will come along. The body type, the length, the power are all there. Use a little bit more of that knee bend as a double team take on guy. And he is a true, complete 3-down player with all of those things being said. So is it projection? Yes. But the vision is absolutely there. And this one I like a little bit more because I still like upside a bit more. But I understand both players very much. And this one is far more of a cry of projection-based development than Gelati is, who's a very smart player. So I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown of Omarr Norman-Lott from Tennessee and how he fits into the Chiefs defense and what to expect from him going forward. If you guys are new to the channel, please hit that sub button, become a member here at Rogue Nation, and hopefully I was able to earn like from you guys as we get around to more and more of Chiefs Kingdom. So have yourselves a great rest of your day. We'll have more content coming for you guys. And then don't forget to join in every single Monday for those Q&As with Ryan and myself, and I'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.